Making the front pages today is the news that fathers are to be given the right to take up to 6 months off work after the birth of their baby. Currently, dads are only entitled to 2 weeks paternity leave, while new mums can take up to a year off. Now, today, the government will announce plans that would see new fathers receiving statutory government pay of £123 a week for the first 3 months and the right to take a further 3 months off unpaid. Now, this could see mums taking off the first 6 months of a baby's life and then dads taking the second 6. So, would we have wanted our men to be the sole carers of our babies?
Well, I have to say that when Kira was born, I went back to work. I think she was about 6 weeks old when I first went back. And Ray was like full stay-at-home dad then, so he did do everything for her then, and he did a brilliant job of it. He's never, ever to this day let me forget it, but, you know.
And were you worried at all? Do you think he did as good a job as you did?
I think, yeah, no, absolutely, I think he did. I mean, I think he found it a lot... Well, it is really hard to do, but I think men, for some reason, find it even harder. You know what I mean? Because we have... Well, I had that natural bond with the babies, you know, when they were babies, and you kind of wanted it, whereas men see it as... Oh, it's awake again, I've got to feed it again, I've got to change its nappy again.
In a way,
and also, it depends on the man, because, you know, obviously I've had 2 husbands.
So far.
And the first one was, you know, mad about the kids and, you know, great with them, but not quite as hands-on. And so if I did have to leave them when they were babies, I'd get back and the nappy would be dragging on the floor. It was so wet because the neighbour was out and he had no one to change the nappy.
Oh, gosh.
But you know, he loved them and all that.
Sure.
But Ray was much more hands-on. But he did find it really, really hard.
So you'd almost think that the men would find it easier, because a lot of the time, the first, you know, 3 months or what have you of having a baby, not only is it difficult in itself, but as a woman, you've got your hormones are all imbalanced, your body is getting used to the fact that it's not pregnant anymore. So, in a way, the man just has the practical bits to do without the physical difficulties.
Well, Tim, bless him, had no choice really, because I've you know said this so many times, but I was so poorly with severe postnatal illness after I had Matthew, and I just lost all my coping mechanism, and he had to really take over, to the point that because I couldn't cope, because it's having a massive nervous breakdown, you know, and it's horrible. And I mean, a nervous breakdown is terrible anyway, but when you've got the responsibility of a newborn baby, and at one point I didn't even know who Matthew was, it was that severe. So he had to take over, and he was absolutely fantastic, because A, he never for once doubted that what I had was an illness. And not an indulgence, like, you know, like some people sadly think it is. And but because I couldn't cope, I was jealous. I was jealous of this bond that I could see forming, you know, between them. Luckily, it hasn't affected my relationship with Matthew, which is fantastic. But I was jealous, and bless him, he was aware of that. So he used to say to me, being completely competent, he used to say, darling, how do I do this bottle? How do I do this nappy? Just so that I would feel that I had some sort of input into it.
Yeah. You know, funnily, I had a sort of similar experience, because I was a wee bit jealous of Peter, because I don't know if you know, but my husband's a doctor, and he had enormous experience of tiny babies. He was actually a GP obstetrician, so he'd been kind of delivering babies on kitchen floors and in baths, and, you know, and he'd been really used...
in a hospital.
No. I think you might be right. Yeah. Anyway, he had lots of experience of looking after them and holding them, and he'd changed nappies as well for mums when he went round visiting them, because he was very hands-on. He still is. And anyway, he just knew what to do. He just knew how to hold the baby, how to feed, how to quieten the baby. I only seem to be able to make them cry. I'm good at the song and dance, but, you know, and I was quite disempowered to start with by him. Yeah. And it took me a long time to get that bond going that you were speaking about,
I'm sure you sang the wheels on the bus better than anybody that
Lots of verses. But I went back to work quite early as well, and we moved house, so there was a lot of stress.
I was never jealous, though, of Ray. I thought, oh, great, they're bonding with him, they won't need me. Baby's crying, love, get up.
OK. It's